Welcome back. This is Will at Work. I'm Kevin. Today we're looking at the 3DS XL from Nintendo. Now we've already looked at the 3DS itself, but I did want to kind of cover the 3DS XL because as a platform it's slightly different than just the standard 3DS, other than the fact that it is a larger screen and, bigger battery, I suppose, and all around that kind of thing, but otherwise mostly the same. This one here that I have is modeled after the Super Nintendo. This one isn't opened. It has a full game download of Super Mario Kart, and so I kind of think to myself, well, should I open it and download the game for it, and then put it back in the box? I probably should before Nintendo decides to close the 3DS store one day. So maybe I'll do that, but it won't be today. I do have a Monster Hunter Generations 3DS XL that I use as my personal player unit. So we'll take a look at that one. And, it takes the standard 3DS cartridge. And has the built-in stylus that you can take out and use. It's not the extendable one, which is kind of a bummer, but it's of a good size. And but what really makes the 3DS XL stand out differently, let me zoom out a little bit, we're so close. There we go. Is the fact that when you're playing it, you have this extra camera button essentially, which the other one didn't have. So you essentially have two analog controls. I mean, this one is analog. This might be some sort of digital cross button type of thing here, and I'm not exactly sure, how many games support this button, because it's a bit limited, in the sense of, do you want to only support the 3DS XL? Does the 2DS have this button? I don't know. But let's go home and let's look at, say, Ghost in the Dusk here. The display is a lot nicer. There's less glare on it. You do see my fingerprints, which I could clean off, but I don't have anything handy right now, and I wanted to make this video kind of quick. So this is a kind of a investigative game I got for this thing, and it has different chapters. It's all the dialogue's in Japanese, so it's kind of funny to me. And you go around in the game, but you have this nice large upper screen. You've got the essentially the touch screen down here for the stylus, your analog control, and this extra nubby. So camera, home button, stereo speakers and everything, and of course you can throw it into a 3D mode, etc. But I'm not even sure this is a 3DS game, to be honest with you. I think it is. It might be a DS game though. And clamshell design. So it's basically the pinnacle of the 3DS DS series, the last one they made before going towards the Switch, and well, if you don't include the 2DS, which I don't know. I always just feel like the 2DS is like the DS with just like some better specs, and it's such a weird naming convention because you got the dual screen, which is the two dual screens, and then you got the 3D thing, and then they're like, well, then we got the 2DS, and it just confuses me. I do not have a 2DS in my collection. I think it's just redundant. It's just the 3DS without the the 3D, but you can just turn the slider down and remove that. So I don't have it, but if somebody gave me one, or maybe if I was just like I wanted to be a completist, I'd pick one of those up. I'm not sure. This was a good system. It's still a good system. You can still get games for it. It's still a lot of fun to play. Battery lasts forever. It's got great performance. It's for what it is, with those old games. Yeah, it's 3DS is it's a very solid system, huge collection of titles that you can play, and that are all a lot of fun and great. For all I know, they might still be making games for this right now. I don't know if they are. They might be. I don't know. But for the most part, you know, everybody's focused on Switch on the Nintendo side, and I do find that unusual simply because, like, Nintendo at one time wanted to have 3 systems at once. Like, that was kind of always their goal, and it didn't work out very well. The Virtual Boy was supposed to be their 3rd system at one point. That was a failure, right? They had the Pokemon Mini, right, which I don't think was a success, but I don't think they tried to really sell it. I think it was more sideline type of stuff because of the success of the Pocket Station from Sony. And then, you know, then they tried to do the thing where they would have the Game Boy Advance Mini or Micro, whatever it was, as well as the DS and, you know, the Wii or GameCube, depending on when you got to that point. And then they kind of said, they gave up after that. They were like, we're just going to run the 2. We're going to run the DS/3DS and then the base console. And now they're down to 1, right? Just the Switch. So I find that interesting because it really sort of limits their market, because if the next one that comes out isn't a success, what does Nintendo do? They don't have one to fall back on, right? Because, like, Wii U was not a success, and they were able to fall back on their 3DS market, you know, to keep the money coming in. If they were to release something that, you know, gamers are fickle. If they release a system that people don't latch onto, something like the Wii U, then they could be really in trouble. So I'm surprised that they don't want to diversify in that way. I'm not necessarily saying that they need to have another handheld, though the Switch really is kind of a handheld, right? I mean, at this point, yeah, you can hook it up to your TV, but I think most people are playing it in their hand. And so it's like Nintendo really could, you know, keep the sort of Android handheld device thing going that they have right now with the Switch, but maybe also invest in a higher powered home game system. And I really, you know, they have in the past, but they've always kind of made it so it was tweaked in such a way that made it a little bit awkward. You know, N64 was cartridges when everybody was on discs. GameCube was really late, and it had those weird mini discs, so you couldn't play DVDs on it. Things like that. You know what I mean? Like, they should just do kind of like what Sony does, and just, like, you know, standard disc, standard system, good control, and then put it all into the software. But hey, whatever. I don't work for Nintendo. What do I know? Anyway, 3DS XL, counting it in the collection because it's a bit unique. It's a bit different because of that nub control. There's certain games that only work for it and not the other ones. So it gets its own console number. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.